Welcome to Startup Stories with Google Cloud. I'm your host, Ryan Anderson. Today we're talking to Andrea Zoellner, the head of growth at Kinsta. Andrea has held leadership roles at companies like SiteGround and Automatic. She brings a wealth of knowledge around content creation, and she now leads a team of marketing specialists to increase the market presence, demand gen, and revenue for Kinsta. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
So for our listeners who might be new to Kinsta, can you start out by telling us a bit about your background and the story of Kinsta?
Totally. So Kinsta was founded in 2013 by four friends in Budapest, Hungary, and now we're at over 250 employees worldwide. So we are a managed WordPress hosting company, and we have operations on every continent except Antarctica. And since 2016, we've been using the Google Cloud platform. So our customer base has grown really rapidly and really quickly, and we're one of the leading hosting companies now for WordPress sites.
And, something I want to highlight is the company's been 100% bootstrapped, which I find incredibly impressive. Can you tell us a bit more about that? And then there's actually an article that I read through from your CFO on the 16 lessons that were learned from bootstrapping the company.
Yeah, I am also quite impressed by the story of Kinsta. And all of our founders are still very involved in the company, which is something that I think has really set the tone for our culture. And I would say one of the main reasons why we've kept it bootstrapped and we've gone this route is the control over the quality and the control to really be able to listen to and serve our customers. And that's something that the founders were extremely passionate about from the get-go, and something that they wanted to maintain moving forward, which was, what do we want Kinsta to look like? How do we want it to operate? How do we want it to best serve our customers moving forward? And how can we stay nimble in a marketplace that, as we know, technology is changing so rapidly, but how can we continue to serve our customers in a way that is true to our values, which is quality first? And for them, the answer was to stay bootstrapped. And I think that's something that I took for granted joining the company. But as I've gotten to know the teams that are leading Kinsta and become part of those leadership teams, I really see the difference that it makes. And I can also vouch for a lot of developers who join Kinsta. They list that as one of their reasons for working for us. They love to be able to work for a company where the founders are still involved and that's entirely bootstrapped.
No, I think there's something magical or amazing when the founders or creators are still so actively involved. I mean, who is going to care more about the product and the customers than the folks who created it?
Absolutely.
And going to that, I mean, can you tell me, you talked about serving your customers. Can you tell me more about the customer's mission and how you're helping your customers?
Absolutely. Totally. So at Kinsta, we have a couple of different types of customers and personas. If you have a SaaS company, you've done the exercise of building your personas. But typically we have a couple of different groups: creators, small business owners, so people who have just launched into business, whether that's like a content website that they're monetizing, or a retail website where they're selling something, or an affiliate business, which we've seen more and more happening these days. So we have individuals who are seeking really high quality web hosting that they can rely on for their business, but they're not necessarily super tech savvy. So they want to be able to choose an option that is kind of plug and go and they can rely on, and that will not give them any issues, and they can always contact support. Now, we also in the middle have our more small business to medium-sized business owners. So maybe they have an agency they're working with, or they have an in-house IT support team who are making those decisions for them. And those people want to be able to talk to support and speak the same language. So for Kinsta, Kinsta is a really good fit for them for that reason. We also have a lot of agencies, so WordPress specific agencies that are kind of a full stack agency that offer marketing and SEO services, as well as web development and web maintenance. And with those, we offer a couple of packages for agencies specifically. So Kinsta tries to tailor to the agency owner that is in of themselves a business. So they're trying to scale up their operations. And the best way they can do that is to partner with a hosting company that can handle that side of things. And so when they are going to their clients and migrating their sites to Kinsta. It's a smooth operation for them, and they can count on Kinsta support as well. So when you're managing, 100 client sites, you want to make sure that your hosting partner is super rock solid.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
on the higher, yeah, absolutely. Like if I were a business owner as well, that would be the first thing I would take care of. And lastly, our enterprise clients as well. So we have kind of the whole spectrum of creators who are running their own sites, as well as agencies in the middle, and then enterprise clients who have their own dedicated web development team.
And I think where you really fit is helping these companies with their customer experience. I mean, the website and how is directly how they engage with their customers, and there's so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, we all know that, like, for people to discover businesses, it's all online, right? But more than just being accessible online, you have to have a great web experience. And that is a multi-layered challenge, which is probably the number one challenge of our customers is how do I maintain a website that is beautiful, has great user experience, is super fast, and converts?
Of those, I mean, are there any common themes or kind of core challenges that you folks see? And I know, WordPress is a big part of this. I wasn't aware 40% of websites are WordPress based.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. WordPress is one of those, it's open source software, one. So it's got a huge community of theme developers and plugin developers and service providers. So of the CMSs out there, WordPress is pretty interesting and unique because anything that you want to build, there's likely someone out there who's solved that problem before or who's built a solution. And the whole plugin universe, and if you're using WooCommerce, there's the whole WooCommerce extension for retail websites. You can pretty much build whatever you want with WordPress, which comes with its own set of challenges of, well, now you have to maintain what you've built. And if you're working with third-party providers who are creating these plugins for you, how do you make sure your code is as optimized as possible and smooth and fast? So how do you have a feature-rich website that is also as fast as it can be? And I think that's one of the main things that people come to Kinsta for. They have their website already built, they're looking to optimize it, and they know that hosting is a big part of that puzzle.
Who would you say is maybe an ideal customer for Kinsta? Are there specific industries that you focus on?
Not any verticals that are specific for Kinsta. We love everyone, but I think some of our, I think medium-sized businesses are a big one for us, and that any vertical really, whether you're selling something on your website or not, we find that fast hosting can have a big impact on medium-sized businesses. One, our fast websites help with your Google search visibility. So your SEO gets a boost from really fast website load times. And then if you're a retail website with carts and checkouts and a huge product catalog, then you're going to want a super fast website for that user experience. I think there's so much research out there that says that for every second it takes to load your e-commerce website, your customers are bouncing, they're leaving, they're going elsewhere, they're going to other platforms that might be selling the same product. So for that reason, so many, medium-sized online retailers come to Kinsta.
No, it makes sense. I mean, if I go to purchase something online and it doesn't work, or it's slow, or the customer experience is poor, you go somewhere else. And that impacts obviously revenue, but customer loyalty, continuing to come back to those businesses, it's absolutely critical.
Yeah. And reputation, you really only have one chance to make a first impression on a consumer. So that's a big part of it.
Are there any specific customer stories that come to mind that exemplify that?
Most of our stories about e-commerce success actually comes through our partner agencies. So I know that one of our agencies that I've partnered with quite closely, because they actually are in my neighborhood, which is a funny story of they emailed Kinsta and I replied, and it turned out that we were neighbors. So we got together in person, which for a distributed company like Kinsta is pretty rare. And it was such a wonderful opportunity to meet a customer face to face. So with this agency in Montreal, Modo Design Agency, one of the things they told us is they continue to get clients who come to them with slow e-commerce websites. And not just e-commerce, but a lot of their clients come to them and say, hey, we have this website, it's not converting, can you help us? And what they do is they have a Kinsta test account, and they will migrate that website to the test account just to show them how fast their website can be with Kinsta. And it's a sales tactic for them now to do that because the difference is so visible. And that's just a really cool example for an end user who gets to see their website get so much faster, and their numbers over months of using Kinsta really drastically change their business for the better. But not only that, but the agency that we work with that works with Kinsta is also seeing their business grow and their business benefit from Kinsta's fast hosting.
It's a great story. The part that I love is, talking about kind of the evaluation period. You can always get so much insight as to, hey, is the salesperson or is the person that I'm working with encouraging a trial, or are they discouraging a trial? And if they're, really excited about, hey, seeing is believing, I mean, that says a lot about the product and the performance.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people underestimate just how much those like couple of seconds of saving in load time what kind of difference that can make. But just as an end user, when I'm going around the web and I have a poor experience, that definitely sticks with me.
I mean, you want to be treated as an individual, and you want it to work, which is very hard to do. It's an easy concept, but very hard to scale.
Yeah, totally.
So let's shift the conversation a bit to the partnership with Google. Tell me more about kind of the relationship, what initially led to the partnership, and maybe some of the challenges, pain points the team was up against.
Sure. So like I mentioned before, quality is really a big deal at Kinsta. And so I think there was a pivotal time around 2016, 3 years into the company being founded, where our founding team had a decision to make. Do we try and become a hosting company like a lot of other WordPress managed hosting companies that offer a good product? Or do we go the extra mile, do the expensive and innovative and kind of out there decision to be able to have more control, but also the best quality on the market for WordPress hosting? And as a bootstrap company, they could make that decision on their own, and they chose to go with relying on the Google Cloud platform. And I wasn't there in 2016, but I know that was a big move for the company. It was a big risk too, not because Google was a risky product to partner with, but to make that investment and to build your entire business backed by Google Cloud was the decision. And ultimately, it's paid off so much for Kinsta. One of the main reasons why we chose Google Cloud at that time was that we needed to ensure a high level of redundancy for our clients. This was something that was kind of a non-negotiable, and having granular control over the servers and being able to tweak the hosting environment was something that the CTO was really passionate about, and Google just offered all of that in its Google Cloud platform. For us, that made our clients' websites faster and more stable. And we kind of had the freedom and flexibility to build our containerized system on top of that.
No, it's great to hear. I mean, I think what's one of the interesting you mentioned is at Google, we've built our own network and run it on the same infrastructure that powers all of Google services, from search to YouTube to Gmail, for billions of users. And so definitely one of the sweet spots for us. And we're opening up that, infrastructure, that same infrastructure and those benefits to our customers. Were there any inflection points or any specific things that the team noticed as they worked more with Google?
Yeah, I think for us, one of the main attractions was the global network, the biggest network in online. I think it was being able to tap into the data centers of the Google network and the fastness of the premium tier network as well. So I think just that kind of reputation and the network size was a really big factor, really big attraction. And I think the global reach is still something that Kinsta benefits from today. Every time that Google adds another data center to its network and expands its reach like that, Kinsta customers can benefit from that as well. We have the opportunity to have live migrations of virtual machines when people want to move their data from one data server to another. Being able to pick a data center that is closest to their customers and their network, but also benefit from the availability and the rapid kind of use of the network. Customers that operate at a global scale internationally, which we're seeing more and more of, can choose to partner with us and have that available to them. And we're connected with Google's cloud network. So just being able to tap into those unlimited resources, look at wild reach, is super important. And Kinsta operates in several countries. So for us, that was a really big deal.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you're talking about with customer experience and speed. And how critical something, as small as a second or two can be. And you were one case study I want to highlight that I read about, you were already known for the best performance in the industry and customer experience. But there's a recent Intel case study that showed your customers, again, saw 200% improvements as you upgraded from the N1 to the C2 instances with Intel on Google Cloud. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and what the team saw?
Yeah. So I think it was late last year, we were making that decision of, what can we do to take our hosting even higher and take us to the next level? And when we saw that we had an opportunity to upgrade to the C2 machines, that was just an easy decision for us, because our values are, let's offer our customers the very best that we have to offer. And so being able to upgrade from the N1 to the C2 machines in available regions was a simple decision for us. And we've seen that our customers who've been able to utilize the C2 machines, instant upgrades, like instant improvements, some up to 200%, some a little less, some a little more. So we are able to see immediately the impact that makes. And again, this is another example of, like, not only is the end user being able to enjoy like the benefits of that, but we see our agency partners as well, who are being able to offer that to their clients and say, listen, not only do you have the premium tier network with GCP, but we are putting you on a C2 machine, which is the best that we have in the industry.
I love the story, and it really showcases, Kinsta leveraging the true benefit of the cloud, which is innovation. Yeah. It's moving faster. It's providing a better experience. So often folks look at it and they say it's an efficiency play. It's a way to save money, but it's so much more than that, which is really exciting to see. Last question, Google related. What has the experience of partnering with Google been like, and what are you most excited about?
Yeah. What I love about the partnership with Google Cloud is just that we are operating with innovators in the industry. And I think that the more that we partner, the more it pushes myself personally to seek that innovation in everything that I do, and to be able to tap into as well all the different companies that are using the Google Cloud platform in innovative ways, and be able to be part of that conversation. Being able to get ideas from how they're utilizing the platform and optimizing their specific use cases, and kind of gaining insights that we can apply to Kinsta as well. So I think just that network, that business network, and those insights into and being able to talk to companies that are really on the cutting edge of that technology has been really motivating and inspiring for the team at Kinsta. And I'm just excited to see how both of our companies are really listening to the market, listening to what customers are needing to move their businesses forward, and innovating to be able to provide those new features and tools.
Yeah. And I love, you talked about just the openness, whether it's open source or just being open and connecting customers. And I think that's a big belief that we have too, is, when you share and you kind of open up the doors, that's the fastest path to innovation. So big part of our strategy. And it sounds like a lot of synergy with Kinsta in your approach as well. So rounding it out, a couple quick personal questions. The first one, what advice would you give to other startups who are looking to disrupt their markets and build products on the cloud?
I would say, set up your systems to have really solid data from day one. I think it's there's a lot of things that you can do that won't scale, and that's fine. That's part of having a startup, right? You want to test things and you want to be nimble and you want to do things that maybe won't serve you long term, but will give you that push out the gate from the start. But if you can, I would say set up systems so that you are listening to your customers, gathering data. Being able to track all of that from the start will not only allow you to optimize quickly, but it will also help you tell that story as you progress of like, here's what made a difference, here's what didn't, and here's where we were when we started, and here's where we are now. So it can be helpful just to make those decisions as you move forward and optimize, but also when you look back to see just how far you've come.
Yeah, it's so difficult to make data-driven decisions, but having, a process and a system and, a place that you can reflect and look back is critical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So next, any key learnings, and this could be, from failures, whether it's Kinsta or personal, any that come to mind around failures and what you might have done differently or what you learned.
Yeah, this was a hard one. And I think there's so many areas where it wasn't necessarily failure, but it's opportunities to look back and see where there were missed opportunities. So I guess you could say that was a failure, but I think when I look back at things that Kinsta has done and that I've done, it's not squeezing every opportunity for everything that it had to offer. And so I would say this kind of goes back to your last question about like, what advice would I give? And I think part of being a really impactful company, especially if you're trying to disrupt a market, is to take advantage of every single opportunity that you have, whether that's a partnership or an introduction or some feedback from a customer who actually gave you some really great insight that probably could have really changed your business earlier on. I think really listening and really mulling over those opportunities to get the most out of them is something that I've failed to do in the past. I think a lot of startups can, see those opportunities. Hindsight's 2020, right? So it's harder to know in the moment. But I would say that's something that I constantly learn from. And being able to kind of review those failures and to kind of hold on to those learnings moving forward is really important. But one question I also come back to all the time is, what is it for? And this is something that like I've made mistakes before where I moved forward with an idea or I did something and ultimately it didn't have the impact that I hoped for and I expected. And then I asked myself the question, well, what was it for? And I kind of just missed the mark on answering that question first. So that's something I would also encourage people to ask as they're developing, like, where do we want to go? What like products are important for us to launch? What features do we want these products to have? Is to like constantly be asking yourself the question, who's it for? And does it have a purpose? And like, what ultimately is it trying to do?
It's such great advice, and it's really going back to understanding the why and what is the goal of the project, and anything tactical that you lay out, if it's not leading towards that goal, what is the point? Right? Which can be easier said than done. But well, Andrea, thanks so much. I appreciate all your insight. And finally, if I'd like to learn more about Kinsta, what the team is up to, where should I get started?
Yeah, so you can find us at kinsta.com. We're also on Twitter and on Instagram and LinkedIn. We also recently launched our own podcast called Reverse Engineered. So if you want to check that out, episodes go out every 2 weeks.
That's amazing. And we'll include a link to that in the comments. Andrea, thanks again. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's been a pleasure.